Hi, if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling me a little about where you went.
My name is Alexander Sprecker. I'm a junior at NKU, and I went on a study abroad to Guatemala. And we went to a nature reservation called Los Andes. And what they do there is they grow and produce coffees. They do a couple other things, but our main task there was to document the coffee producing. What's interesting, a lot of people think that like we were really terrified or anything, but Los Andes is a very sheltered isn't the right word. They're very isolated, right? So they have very little contact with the outside world. We just had a very weak Wi-Fi signal. That was really all we were getting from the outside world. So Sarah Drabick and Chris Strobel were our two like main chaperones, and they were feeding us information as soon as they got it. But as far as the farm themselves, they weren't doing anything else differently while we were there because it was so early on into the outbreak and everything.
Is there anything you'd want to add?
So with the coronavirus, like I've mentioned, it didn't affect the trip all that much going. I mean, it did add a little uncertainty, but it's really the aftermath of the trip that has really affected my study abroad class, because it's a documentary class. It's all about the stories we went there to document, and that is extremely difficult. Being quarantined, like we aren't able to meet in an editing lab, like we aren't able to like edit live and like see different changes. It's been very segmented and very like disconnected, where like editing is usually a couple people like putting their input. It's like we did a bunch of stuff to prep editing, and we put together what we thought would be a good story, and then we sent it off to our editor, and then a week later we got to view it, and then we're like, okay, so we like this part, we didn't necessarily like this part, and we couldn't like really go and sit down and see what things like what would play nice with each other and what wouldn't in a timeline. So that's really like the biggest hindrance of this whole thing for the trip itself. Obviously there's a whole mess of other things, but the trip itself, it's the quarantine that's really hurting us.
Thanks. Thank you for your time and
Yeah.
thank you for your willingness.